Here we are again, and this time the Royal Navy, which is, as a force, is significantly larger than my Kriegsmarine. Don't worry about the ships up at the back end and the top right of the screen. They are all merchantmen and cargo ships, so we'll look at them in a minute. First off, let's look at the big gun men of war. And, we'll start with, not my smallest ones, but my escorts. Let's see if we can get them in here. Here we go. The Cleveland and the Exmoor. These are hunt classes. Very, very small. And then a quick step across, because the Polish Navy did get rolled into the Royal Navy a little bit, though the ships were separate. They crewed by Poles, commanded by Poles, they were still there. In this case, we have a tribal and two hunts. These are not named. My dad actually did these ones many years ago. I think he Privat. I can't quite read that because it is very, very small. He was very good at the small writing. Let me check something. Did he write anything underneath? No, he didn't. So a pair of hunt classes and the larger tribal class. I think might have been. I think it's an S. I think it's a tribal. No, only one. Then she might be an S class. No, she's not an S class. Hang on. Just having a look through the various versions I've got. I'll be honest, she might be a J class. I think she's a J class. Yeah. I'll show you what the J class is in a second. So back over to two hunt classes. I'm sure I have another one of these somewhere, though I'm not too sure where she's gone. And our next rack of destroyers: Scorpion, Savage, Success, and Scourge, which by Royal Navy terms means they're S classes. Yeah, I'm fairly certain she's a Privet is a Privet. I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce it. So yeah, S classes. These all come in pairs, as destroyers, the smaller warships tend to do. And we have Janus, Jupiter, Jarvis, Javelin, Jaguar. Take a guess, and I'll say you might be getting you might be getting into the idea that they are J classes. And then we have the Ursa and the Venus. I'll be honest, when I painted these up and based them, I did write on the bases what they are. However, I have been unable to decipher what 2.5 means. Genuinely have no idea why I wrote that on there. I'd have to have a word with myself, but... And then we move across, and I'm not too sure what these are. I haven't been able to find a little slip of paper for them. I think they're motor torpedo boats. They could be patrol boats. I think they're supposed to go up against my little... I think they are MTBs. I think they're supposed to fight my German S-boats. E-boats? Whichever one it was. Yeah. Schnellboote, yeah, S-boats. But yeah, and then we'll have a quick shifty round. And we have the tribals. In this case, Nubian, Cossack, Sikh, Mohawk, Eskimo, and Tartar. These are my large destroyers. And so we'll move to the selection of cruisers. So I will make a comment here. The general understanding is that a 6-inch cruiser is your light cruiser, 8-inch cruiser being your heavy cruiser. The British, however, they have a cruiser, so they have a literal... It's not called a medium cruiser. I think the argument could be made that, hello Belfast, you're a raiding cruiser, but shh. The British Navy the Royal Navy would never do such a thing as going raiding someone's merchantman. That's naughty. Anyway, yes, so Sydney, otherwise known formally as HMS Phaeton, so this is HMAS Sydney, and HMS is Ajax and Achilles. I wonder why I own those. Not at all to fight the Graf Speer. I do, because I can do that scenario. It's one of the base reasons why not. And then we have the Norfolk, the Southampton, and the Exeter, which are, I believe, 8-inch gun cruisers. Someone could correct me on that one. Fiji, and the aforementioned Belfast, 6-inch gun cruisers. Gloucester, which is also a 6-inch gun cruiser. And the Dorsetshire, which I believe is an 8-inch gun cruiser. Moving up into the centre too, we have HMS Rodney. As I like to call it, the mutant baby of the Royal Navy, because look at them, 3 turrets to the front. It's a chase ship. Clearly, it's supposed to hunt people. It doesn't run away from things. It goes towards them. And leading there, we have a little escort carrier. And then we have what you could, so in the modern Navy would be considered to be sort of the pride of the fleet, would be the aircraft carrier. So here we have the Illustrious and the Ancient Ark Royal. In this case, I added on a couple of what they called fairy swordfishes with their wings folded back, as I wanted them being prepped for flight, just to give the deck a little bit of character. And then moving across, we have the Prince of Wales and the King George V. The King George V, by the way, is in its 1944 refit variant. The Prince of Wales never got there. Z-Force. Z-Force? Yes. Task Force Z or Task Force H, I can't remember which one it was, but one of the two. Ill-fated foolishness. And then you may have seen these ones before in my World War I video, which was Warspite. And the Renown, so my Queen Elizabeth class Queen Elizabeth class battle cruisers. And then in the centre, the ginormous thing that is the hood. And it is genuinely, even as a model, it is a big model. Let me just show you, for example, the King George V as a model. Remember in the old 1 in 3000s is still only just slightly shorter. Rodney, one of the main flagships of the Royal Navy, is still only just smaller than the hood. Renown. I'll just put it on this side, just to show I'm not messing with you. See, generally shorter. The hood, huge battleship. Also, huge battle cruiser. Cruiser? Yeah, heavy cruiser. So yes, there's my hood. I can use it again. This is it in its World War II configuration, much like the same as the Warspite and Renown. Though though excluding the hood, I do have cards for them to be run for World War I. Shropshire, which is another 8-inch gun cruiser. And then these two, the one without a name, unfortunately, I did have a name for it, but it seemed to have escaped me, are basically Dido anti-aircraft carriers, Dido class anti-aircraft cruisers. So they have lots of, I think it's 5-inch guns mounted fore and aft. So a good solid force. I can play most scenarios. So Hunt the Bismarck would include my Prince of Wales and the hood. I can even do some of the escort vessels that we're also out hunting for her, because I have the Polish destroyers. I have various destroyers that you can, yes, they're S's and J's. They may have been hunted by other types, but I can always. It's a destroyer. You can proxy them. You can proxy a destroyer as a different type of destroyer. If anyone's going to get really bent out of shape over that one, I'd say don't play with that person. Well, they'll probably get bent out of shape over stuff that just after a while gets boring. I've managed to acquire these as a selection of ships. So I said I can do a variety of scenarios. So again, these 4 at the bottom, I can run for doing things like fighting the Gaff Spear, the Rodney, the King George V, and the Ark Royal allow me to kill the Bismarck, while the Prince of Wales and the hood fight the bitter fight against the Bismarck. And then I can also do, remembering that I have the Scharnhorst Knives now as the German battle cruisers. I can run several of these warships against them in one of the battles of the Atlantic or the Straits, where it's basically the two German battle cruisers basically fighting it against a small group of Royal Navy vessels that basically found them in the middle of the bad weather. This scenario is in one of the 2 rule books. And quickly on, again, because if you're going to have convoys, and I've got undersea boats and destroyers and stuff, I might as well do convoy duties. So I have a various selection of Liberty ships, passenger liners, and other, I say, nondescript cargo vessels that can just make up. I don't have any tankers. In fact, no, I think these two I think are my tankers. And I think the rest are just generic nondescript Liberty ships / cargo ships of varying types. All are from Navwar. Most of these are painted by me, as I expanded out my dad's fleet. He had maybe a dozen or so total warships of varying types. Basically, I'd say the ones which have light blue bases are pretty much light blue bases are basically my dad's, with the very impressively done wake of the ships, whereas everything else is pretty much the darker blue bases. So in this case, the Rodney is on a darker blue base, and darker blue base is mine. These are the ones I did, and then the destroyers done here because they're not as shiny as Nemesis. it is a different shade of blues. There's a light blues, but it's argue blue. So quickly, just something I can show you from if you do purchase anything from Navwar. This is a sort of you'll get them in little plastic bags. The people who take over his business will do, as unfortunately the individual who runs Navwar has passed away. So yes, carrying on. So in this case, you get the tags, which will give you World War 1, World War 2, World War 3, whatever it is. Name and type of the ship, the code number, and a little bit of the information. So, example, with the HMAS Sydney, it is a modified Leander class, and 1931 was ex-HMS Phaeton. And then moving across, we have another one, HMS King George V, 14-inch gun battleship, refit for 1944. And then in there you should get a little slip of paper, which basically gives you, again, the code number, the name, when she was launched, her sister ship's displacement, the dimensions of the ship, her gun, her weaponry, how many tubes, torpedo tubes, if she does have them, her armour belt, and her speed. And as you can see, again, battleship King George V. This is, again, sisters by then were Duke of York, Anson and Howe, because the Prince of Wales was at the bottom of the Atlantic. And again, its displacement, dimensions, armament, 10 14-inch guns, 16 5.25-inch guns, and 64 2-pounders with 8 40mm and 38 20mm. Again, air power was a significant threat, and so they responded as they could. 15-inch belt, 6-inch deck armour. You get these with it, and again, it's just this is a tribal class. So you get 2 of them, the code, a list of the various names, and a little bit of information about them. You're not going to get a massive amount. Again, I've got some which are very much older, and it was literally just, so for example, there's the Hunt. So it was just printed it in, so typed out on a piece of paper and then probably photocopied 1,000 times. And that I think will do. So yes, my Royal Navy force is significantly larger than my Kriegsmarine force, because the Royal Navy was bigger than the Kriegsmarine, and I'm British. I like to run the Royal Navy. I do have aircraft stands for the Illustrious and the Ark Royal and the escort carrier. They're mostly string bags, and I have got a few Seafires, I think, floating around. But there's one of those items that appears and disappears randomly, so I'll have to see if I can find them at some point. Now I'm thinking about it, which means I probably won't find them anyway. I'll just forget about them and carry on with my life as we do. Too much stuff to do. I think the real life likes to kick in, and occasionally other projects rear their head and go, yeah, do me instead. I need to be painted up. So I shall leave you with that. Again, as I've mentioned in my World War I video, I think at the end, if anybody has any suggestions for other types of rules for World War I or World War II, I'm more than interested to take a look. So if someone's willing to point me in those direction, I'm quite happy to get some information. Victory at Sea, I do enjoy it. It's a good set, but I do wonder whether there's better sets is maybe not the best way of putting it, but maybe something that gives me a different flavour to the period, if you will.